Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sal the Car Gal, and let's talk about some F1 stuff. I'm feeling a little bit professional. I've got myself a microphone now, so you can hear me even better than you did before. So exciting. I'm really excited to use this, and it's got a little fluffy thing on top, so it's super cute. Okay, let's get into it, all right? So I thought today we've just had F1 75 live, and we've had testing go on, and I can't believe cars are back on track. It's so exciting. And I mean, wow. It certainly delivered, did it not? Both F1 75 live and testing on track. So much fun. And so I think we're in for quite a season. So I'm going to combine my thoughts on the car launches and rate them, and then also have a little discussion about the team's performances in testing, because that's super exciting. Okay, so starting off with Stake F1 team. So, little car reveal here. So, it's green. Slightly darker and less fluoro than it was last year, and it's got more black on it. The green kind of blends into the black rather than having like little patches all over the car. And the front wheel rims are actually green and the back wheel rims are black, so I thought that was quite a nice touch. Thought that was very cool. I like how all the cars are now starting to like put stuff on their wheel rims rather than just having like black ones and everyone's are the same. So that's the car. The race suit, however, not gonna lie, I don't really like it. I'm not a big fan of the massive S on the leg. Yeah, I think they could have, I don't know. I don't really know what they could have done better there, but that is something I did not like very much. So yeah, one girl's opinion, I guess. So the car launch itself, I was a bit confused with the drums. And because this was the first one of the night, I was like, oh my goodness, are all the rest of them going to be like this? And I got a little bit scared. Because, for one, you couldn't even hear what the people were saying, because the drums were really loud and the music was really loud. But you couldn't also read what it was saying on the screen, which I assume was what the person was saying. And yeah, I was just like, whoa, this is a lot. So I was a little bit scared for the rest of the night. I'm giving that a rating, a 6 out of 10. So I do like the car. Just not a fan of the suit. And I would have liked to have been able to hear what they were saying. So yeah. Anyway, testing. Day 1. We had Gabriel in P12 with his fastest time, which was on the C2 tyre. And he did 59 laps altogether. And then Nico was in P18 on the C3 tyre with 58 laps. So the C2 tyre was the harder tyre, which is interesting because he placed higher than Nico on the softer tyre. Day 2, Gabriel was P15 and had 80 laps, and Nico P16 with 56 laps. So a little bit more consistent, which is good. And then day 3, Nico was in P14 with 69 laps, and Gabriel on P17 with 38 laps, and had a few off-track moments there. So overall, Gabrielle's best time was a P18 on the C3 tyre, and Nico's was a P19 on the C3 tyre. So, kind of where I expected them to be down the bottom, but obviously we have to take testing with a grain of salt. It's not going to be sandstone, even though this next one I got really excited for. Williams. The car is like a lighter blue into a darker blue. So it starts lighter and then goes into that darker blue at the nose of the car. And it's like a nice blend. It's not like a block color. It blends into each other. And it is a bit of a tip of the hat to the historic Williams liveries in the past. Obviously, historic. I really like it. The suit, however, is white with a blue stripe down the side, and they have the dark blue fireproofs like they did last year. I really like the suit as well, similar to last year. I'm a big fan. In terms of the car launch, first of all, slay to James Vowles for being an amazing announcer and host. And this just made me love them even more. Yeah, he worked that stage like no tomorrow. Walk that catwalk, my friend. So good. I loved it. So, therefore, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 because I love it and I can't wait to see it on track in real life. Obviously, I've seen it on track in testing, but the countdown is on. It's even closer to AusGP, so I can't wait to see it on track in Melbourne. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Okay, testing. Sainz, P5 with 68 laps, and Albon, P9 with 63 laps on the C3 tyre. So good first day for the Williams team. Day 2 was just Carlos, and he did a whopping 126 laps and a P1 overall in the second day, sorry. He did lose the rear end due to the damp track because it did start to rain in Bahrain. And also had a bit of a spin in the evening session. And then day 3 was Alex only with 136 laps and a P3 overall on the C4 tyres, so slightly softer. He did lose a little bit of traction and went off the track. But overall, Sainz's P1 on day 2 earned him P1 overall on that C3 tyre, and Alex a P6 on the C4 tyre overall. So none of those are actually outside of the top 10. So that is really exciting. Williams girlies, we are going to get a podium this year. I can feel it. I mean, not to jump ahead, but that's really exciting. And I'm so happy for them because they have needed this for a long time. So bring on the 2025 season, Williams, because you are killing it so far. And I can't wait to see it. So next we have Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, or VCARB. And they had a white and blue car, predominantly white, with a massive Red Bull on the back, so on the little intake thing on the top, and the nose of the car. There's also like little blue bulls coming out of the big blue patch at the rear end of the car. And to be honest with you, I really, 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 really like it. I really like it. And I like it even more after seeing it on track in testing, because the darkness of the track obviously being black and then the white of the car, it just pops. It just pops and it looks really, really good. And I really like it. Then the race suit, it's all white with a blue leg and a bit of green detailing with the Cash app being green. The only thing was kind of in general is I thought that they wanted to be separate from Red Bull, yet they've got a ginormicon Red Bull on the back of their car and on the front. So that I was just a little bit confused. I mean, I know they're the junior team, but I know in the past that they've said that we're still independent from them. So I was a bit confused about that, to be fair, but that's okay. The car launch itself, there was a video prior asking people on the street about Visa Cash App RB, and I thought this was kind of fun. I thought it was kind of fun. Yeah. So I give it all in all, I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Then testing. So day 1, Isaac had a bit of a spin in his car and ended the day in P11 with 76 laps. And then Yuki was in P10. He was obviously faster being in P10 despite being in the morning session, because normally the evening session driver drives better than the AM session, but not in this case. And Yuki had 78 laps to his name. Then on day 2, Isaac was in P10 and with 94 laps, and was the only car to use the C4 tyres that day. Everyone else was on the C3 tyre. And Yuki was in P12 with 46 laps. So definitely, like, literally half than what Isaac had that day. So then we move on to day 3. Yuki was in P7 with 87 laps. And then Isaac in P15 with 76 laps. And then overall, Yuki was in P14 on the C3 tyre and Isaac P15 on the C4 tyre. Did I say? Yeah, I did say that the right way around. So that's kind of good that they're very close, one after the other. And I think that's quite good. If your drivers are consistent, I guess that's what you want, right? Next we have Haas, and the car is pretty much the same as last year, with predominantly white with a little bit of red and black, rather than mostly being black. And then we've got some new sponsors on the car, which I noticed. Go Haas, getting you some more monies. Love that. And the Haas logo on the side of the car is black instead of white. The suit is all black with red and white detailing. It had a little bit more white on it last year, so I guess they've kind of swapped their cars more white and their suits more black rather than the other way around. The car launch itself, I liked the breaking out of the wall with the music. That was really cool. I also liked the video at the start, but most of what was shown, which, I mean, you can't not show it, is all the drivers that they've replaced. So I was a bit unsure about that. Like, yeah. I was a bit confused, but that's okay. Let me give that launch an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for the car launch. Love that. Ollie was the slowest of the morning times with 72 laps. Ocon with the most laps with 88 and finishing P19, and obviously Ollie in P20. Day 2, Esteban was in P17 with 69 laps and Ollie in P18 with 66 laps, and had a little bit of a trip into the gravel in his session. And then day 3, Esteban was in P8 on the C4 tyre with 102 laps, and then Ollie in P18 with 59 laps, which is literally half, because some of the bodywork came off his car, which is a little bit unhelpful. So overall, Esteban got P17 on the C4 tyre, and Ollie was in P20 on the C3. So unfortunately, after having such a good debut and subsequent races after that, Ollie was slowest in pretty much every session in testing, which is, I mean, I would say slightly disheartening if that was me. But, I mean, it's a new car. We've got to give him some slack. I mean, not that I'm taking any, I'm not being harsh. I'm just kind of stating the obvious here. But it's just a bit sad because he did so well, and I hope that he can do well this year. So, good luck to Haas. Alpine car, pink and blue with actual colours on it this year, not as much carbon fibre. So nice to see. The blue is a slightly lighter blue though, and I would say they're going a little bit more back towards their roots with the pink and the blue. I really like it. There's some new sponsors on there too, which is exciting. And the race suit is pink and black. Looks really sleek. I like it. Car launch itself though, I was a bit confused about the DJ, because at first it kind of it sounded like he was just there and that the music was just happening around him and he was just pretending, because I didn't actually know who the DJ was. And then I was just thinking, oh, is this just for show? But then I kind of got into it when I realized that he was actually doing it, and the music got a little bit more dancey vibes rather than just sounding really technical. I don't know what the right word is, but you know what I mean. But overall, I would give this a 7 out of 10. So then getting into testing with the amazing Alpine. Day 1, Pierre in P6 with 72 laps and Jack in P14 with 68 laps on the C3 tyre. So nice work, guys. And then day 2, Jack in P8 with 79 laps, had a large lockup causing a big flat spot. And he almost lost the rear end of the car towards the end. And then Pierre in P9 with 40 laps. So still quite close together, which is good. Day 3, Pierre in P5 with 83 laps and Jack in P12 with 61 laps, and had a bit of an off-track moment to avoid a slow-moving Lando. So overall, Pierre in P9 on the C3 and Jack in P12 on the C3. So I would say that's actually pretty successful for Alpine. Pierre didn't have a moment outside of the top 8, 9, 10. We'll call it top 10. And Jack didn't go outside the top 15. So, and had a little bit of a moment in the top 10. So I think that's actually pretty successful. And I'm really happy for Jack because I think he definitely, if anything, most of all out of all the rookies, needs to prove himself the most because of all that heat with the Franco Colapinto situation. So, well done, Jack, for holding your own. I think you did a really good job. And then we have Aston Martin. Very similar to last year, with just a bit more white and black on the car. Um, more more black than it was definitely last year, and there's a lot less yellow detailing on the side. Last year, the yellow line went from like literally the front to the back of the car, but it's not like that anymore. So then the race suit was the Aston Martin green with the yellow strip around the outside. And then the car launch itself, I can get behind that James Bond theme. I really loved how they popped out in the crowd with their helmets on. I thought that was very sleek, very cool. You know, I'm not. I will admit I'm not the biggest Aston Martin fan, but I am a fan of this car launch. It slapped. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. Um, because the car is a little bit less green, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Because I really like the green. I think the green really stands out. Anyway, testing. Day 1, they as a team had the fewest laps with 88 combined, placing P15 and 16 on the C3 tyre. Then Lance on day 2 was in P6 with 57 laps, and Fernando in P11 with 45 laps. And then day 3 was predominantly Fernando, who ended the day in P16 with 82 laps. He did a little bit of a sliding around moment. Lance wasn't really feeling very well, but did have a little go in the car, getting 34 laps and finishing in P13. So not too bad. And surprisingly, overall, Lance finished P10 on the C3 and Fernando P16 on the C3 tyre. So overall, Lance finished higher than Fernando on most days. Well, and now overall, which is surprising. And interestingly, I found out that Adrian Newey isn't actually working at Aston Martin yet. He hasn't started working there yet. I thought once he'd left Red Bull last year, he'd go straight into it working on the 2025 car. But apparently not. He's starting later. He hasn't even started. So it'll be very interesting to see what the beginning of this season will bring as opposed to the end, because obviously, well, I assume that Adrian will be coming in and helping with the upgrades for the 2025 season, and mainly his main reasons for being there are for the new regulations in 2026. I don't really know, but that's what confused me because I thought he had started. But anyway, we move on. Mercedes, next car, were pretty much the same as last year, but there's a little bit more Petronas green and silver. There's no more red Ineos sign on the intake on the front and on this like the front end plates. It is just the logo without the red, which I think looks a little bit more chic because it's all one. It looks more uniform, if that makes sense. There's more silver arrows at the back of the car as well. So, the suits, all black with the cool dots on the side, and with their name. I really like their name on the suit as well. The car launch, though, the pit stop was a bit awkward. The intro video was cool. I liked how they put their junior drivers in it as well. It makes it look like they have a lot of faith in their junior drivers, and that, Kimi and, well, technically George as well, were both Mercedes juniors. So I guess it kind of makes sense that that they put all of them in there to show, look, like we've respected these drivers' loyalty to us over their junior career, and now look where they are in the full-time team. So I think that was quite special. So I give that a solid 8 out of 10 for Mercedes. Testing. Day 1, 78 laps for Kimi, and he actually set the fastest time in the morning session, but got P7 overall in day 1. Russell was second fastest time of the day with 70 laps. So well done, Mercedes, on the first day. Day 2, George was P4 with 70 laps and was having to slow down a little bit in a few sections. Kimi was then in P5 with 87 laps. Oh, I know why he had to slow down. He had that little bit of like debris on his car that he had to pick off. That's why he had to slow down. Kimi was P5 overall with 87 laps and did have a lock up into a corner and went wide off the track. Day 3, George was P1 with 91 laps and Kimi in P10 with 61 laps, and did a little bit of a race with Alex and did a dive bomb on the inside. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that action in real time. So overall, George got P4 on the C3 tyre and Kimi was P7 on the C3 tyre, and the highest scoring rookie. So I think Mercedes are going to be pretty bloody stoked about that, because that's exciting. That's really exciting. Especially the lull that they've had over the past couple of years. Seeing that surely would give them some confidence going into this season, and I'm excited to see it. Next we have Red Bull. The car is pretty much the exact same as last year, as it normally is, in terms of the colour scheme and the sponsoring. Obviously the aerodynamics are slightly different, and the Red Bull on the top of the car is a lot bigger than last year and is actually similar to the V-Carb car. So if that doesn't say that they are really, really related, then I don't know what does. But yeah, race suit, same as last year, red with red stripes down the side. I think they're like just look a little bit more, they're more bold, I would say, the red stripes. The car launch itself, I really enjoyed the intro video. Christian Horner, not a bad host. Not a bad host. You can tell he's quite proud of his team. And I mean, in a way, I guess you should be. They've done quite well over the past few years. I mean, I'm not Christian Horner's biggest fan, but I don't really like how he was booed. I think that's wrong. Like, yeah. I mean, there's all that stuff that went on at the beginning of last season, and I definitely do not condone that. But you don't have to boo someone. You can not like them and still be respectful. So that was my only qualm with that. I was slightly confused with the people coming on the stage though, and Max and Liam looked really uncomfortable with them dancing behind them. I mean, Max looked uncomfortable the whole time anyway, and as we know, that's really not his scene. But yeah, I it was just, I could just feel secondary cringe going on. But I liked the video. Maybe just didn't need the dancers coming on at the end. But anyway, wasn't my decision to make. So I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Let's talk testing though. So, because this is interesting. So, day one, Lawson did have a little bit of a squabble in the car, but was P8 overall with 58 laps. And then Max was P3 overall with 74 laps. On day two, it was Liam only in the car with 91 laps and came P7 overall. There was a little bit of a water pressure issue, and they did have the garage covered over. So, yeah, they were obviously doing some mysterious stuff in there. Then day three was just Max, and he was P2 with 81 laps and did have a bit of a spin at the first turn on one of his laps. Interestingly, Max nor Liam were at the very top of the timesheets at any point. As in finishing at the top of the very top spot of the timesheet. So, shall be interesting year. But overall, Max got P5 on the C3 tyre and Liam P11 on the C3 tyre. So didn't even scratch the top 10 overall. Next, Ferrari. God, it was absolute perfection. The car is absolute perfection. Obviously, red. Duh. I like the new white strip on the back. That's interesting. I would have maybe preferred the HP logo to not be so obviously blue. It does kind of taint it a little bit, just a little bit, but not too crazy. The red of the car, though, is a slightly more burgundy, maroony type red rather than the bright red that it was last year. I will say I do prefer the lighter red. I really liked last year's car. Like, I really, really liked it. Obviously, I'm always going to like the Ferrari car, but I did prefer last year's Ferrari over this year's Ferrari, but I still like it. Let me preface that. I still like it. Then the race suits were the red with the white detailing. And the car launch itself, I loved the intro video. It was all class, very elegant. I love how they went through the historics of the brand and the team. Yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10, obviously. And I mean, not obvious, like obviously because I love Ferrari, but obviously because it was good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So let's talk testing. So day one, 41 laps, between both Charles and Lewis. So a combined 141. And Charles finished in P4 and Lewis finished in P13. But we got to see Lewis in a Ferrari for the first time. I was stoked. I was so stoked. It was amazing. Unfortunately, probably didn't turn out the way I really wanted it to turn out for Lewis, but that's okay. Day 2, Lewis in P2 with 45 laps, but was the fastest in the morning session. And Charles was in P3 with 83 laps, but took a little bit of a spin, did a bit of a pirouette in the car. Day 3, Lewis in P6 with 47 laps on the C4 tyre, and Charles in P9 with 66 laps, I'm assuming on the C3 tyre, and did lead the AM session. So, Lewis was fastest in the AM session, in the morning session on day 2. Charles was fastest in the morning session on day 3. I'm getting delusional here, guys. It's gonna happen. Overall, Lewis was P2 on the C3 and Charles was P3 on the C3. What I think is good is that they're close together. And I think that's a really good sign. A really good sign. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to be delusional about it. I'm going to take it because I'm very hopeful now. Because testing always kind of puts my spirits in the toilet. But this hasn't. If anything, it's uplifted them a lot more. And I mean, Carlos being in P1 overall, like, oh my God, this is going to be a great season. And I'm so excited. I'm so here for it. So last but not least, McLaren. Pretty much the same exact car as last year and honouring their championship car livery. Not sure I love the blue from the sponsor DP World, but otherwise I really like the car. I liked it last year, like it this year. Yeah. The race suits were similar design to last year with like the diagonal stripe. And on the legs there was like, it was like a silhouette-y, camo-y looking black pattern thing, which I liked that too. In terms of the car launch, loved the intro video with all the historic cars. I liked how they lined up their cars on the stage too. I thought that was really cool. And I think they're feeling pretty positive about this year. Maybe not so much after the testing, but I'll give it a solid 9 out of 10. In terms of the testing, I don't want to believe that this is how they're going to go. I don't want to believe it at all. They could be sandbagging. They could be sandbagging. Most of the teams could be sandbagging. This is why it's like really hard for me, because I'm like, oh, I want to be delusional about Ferrari being good, but the others may not be putting in their full efforts. So you don't really know until the first race and the first few races, I should say. Let's talk testing. McLaren, day 1, Norris, 52 laps, and P1, even though was in the garage for most of his session, and Piastri in P17 with 66 laps. See, I don't love how spread out they are. Consistency and reliability is what we're going for here. Day 2, Oscar had 44 laps under his belt in P13, had a bit of going off the track, a bit of oversteering, being almost in an on-track crash with, I think it was one of the Saubers, I can't remember. And Lando was in P14, so consistent on day 2, but low. So Lando P14 with 77 laps, but had a little bit of a race with Charles, Gabrielle, and almost Kimmy. Day 3, Oscar was in P4 with 84 laps and Lando in P11 with 57 laps. Lando had a bit of a brief stop on track and was P3 in the morning session, but could have been higher if not for his little brief off-track adventure. So overall, Oscar P8 on the C3 tyre and Lando P13 on the C3 tyre. It makes me nervous that they're sandbagging, but it also makes me nervous that that is their pace. I don't know what to think. But it's going to be okay. Because it's only 2 weeks away. It's only 2 weeks away. And I can't believe it. I hope I see some of you at the Melbourne Albert Park. See you there. And maybe have a little bit of a chat, because that will be fun, because I love talking about this, obviously. But yeah, so that was fun, watching testing, watching F175 Live. Can't say F175 Live was my favourite event of the year. I did think it was cool, but I think it was a lot. Would have been fun to be there, but I thought it was a lot. Yeah, take that as you will. But it was exciting to see cars on track. Hopefully my delusions will become a reality, and hopefully the other, I don't want to call them disappointments because that's a bit of a harsh word, but those ones that aren't in the spot where I want them to be, pick up their pace and get to it, because I'll be really sad if they don't. But yeah, I'm actually heading to Race of Champions next weekend at in Sydney, and hopefully some of you get to go too. I think that's going to be really fun. F1 drivers that I know are going to be there are Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, and Mick Schumacher. Don't know if Mick Schumacher will be in F1 cars or the endurance cars. I guess we'll find out. I'm just going Saturday evening. It is Friday and Saturday, but I'm just going Saturday. And I'm excited for that. So I'll have cars next weekend and then cars the following weekend. Gosh, so lucky. So lucky. Thanks everyone so much for listening, and don't forget to follow along on social media and subscribe to this YouTube channel and leave a comment or rating or review, even 5 stars if you love it that much, for my beautiful audio listeners out there. Anyways, have a beautiful day and an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.